What up, what up, what up, what up? It's your boy P. Skip. Welcome to the best half hour of your entire Tuesday. You know what time it is. It's time to get into his course. My squad with me, T-Mac.
Hola.
Chili Will.
Gracias, amigo.
Let's do this. For those of you who don't know, Ime Udoka, the head coach of the Boston Celtics, is suspended by the organization for the entire 22-23 NBA season for having a consensual sexual relationship with a female member of the team staff, according to ESPN. Udoka's relationship with this unnamed staff member is reportedly in violation of the franchise code of conduct. And what brings to mind is the scripture, Galatians 6 and 8. And that is, those who live only to satisfy their own sinful nature will harvest decay and death from that sinful nature. But those who live and please the Spirit will harvest everlasting life from the Spirit. If you sow to your flesh, of your flesh you reap corruption. My question becomes this. They're two adults. It was consensual. I think she was an ex-WNBA player, the young lady he was involved with. She did not get suspended because I think the code of ethics didn't go for her. It went for coaches and executives. So again, consensual. The other piece is he's not married. But the third piece for me is this. Who told? Did it happen at work and they saw it on camera? Who told? Was it one of the executives was like, listen, that was going to be my chick. And you messing with somebody, you already got Nia Long. You can't have all the women. I want to know what happened here. Somebody snitched. I don't know if she was scorned and she thought, well, maybe I'm going to beat out Nia Long and not be the side piece anymore. And he didn't stop. And she came into town and he treated her like he's supposed to treat her, or what? Was it a woman scorned, or what happened? How did this hit the news?
Yeah, Tim, we want you to tell us, how did this hit the news?
Well, there were a couple of plausible things that you described in that. Well, first off, I think it's very unfortunate for the Boston Celtics and, for Coach to have been, handed such a severe penalty for an infraction. And anyone knows that whatever you're doing, if it's against the rules, there is a chance that you could be penalized, for it. Is it worth, the risk? There's an adage that says the best way to keep from harm is to keep from harm's way. And so for him, I guess he has a dangerous streak, doesn't mind living life a little bit dangerous, but it does still strike me as a bit unusual given all the things I've heard about that go on in professional sports, particularly from the level of debauchery. Matter of fact, I believe former player Matt Barnes has said in a now deleted Instagram post that things such as this particular incident and violation of so-called official rules of teams and organizations happens all the time. Why this one right here not only, resulted in such a severe penalty, but has even been publicized, throughout the media, has been really questionable for me, not excusing or condoning one breaking the rules. However, if the culture is that some rules can be broken with a wink of the eye or a slap on the wrist, why did this one rise beyond that piece? For a coach to have really, taken the team to the NBA finals on the brink of a championship, quite frankly, in the eyes of many, they should have won, but for some, erroneous plays on the court, some costly turnovers at crucial times.
And some injuries. And some injuries.
I mean, they would be actually champions. So for him, being the first time coach of this team, it seems to really jeopardize a lot. Last piece I'll say, we'll get a word in edgewise, is that in addition to just the shame, humiliation that he has to endure because of this, the team didn't necessarily let him go. They kept him as part of their organization, but they slashed his salary in half and said at the end of this penalty, they will then reevaluate whether, what his future will be with or without the squad. So it just seems like a very, very steep price to pay for something that others have done and received a much less severe penalty, particularly those that seem to have less writing on this than what he has. I mean, essentially his future in coaching may be jeopardized or even paused for a bit to go from, an overnight quote unquote success to, the bad boy of the NBA. It's unfortunate for him, his reputation of the young lady he was involved with. And it's just still kind of questionable why it came out, why the penalty was so severe. And, what was the cause of it? Who pushed that button to say, hey, we have to go nuclear with this and blow this thing all the way up?
Man, I agree with both of y'all. The curiosity is, how did this become public? Because, you mentioned this, Tim. You mentioned that Matt Barnes mentioned it on his podcast, that this kind of thing is par for the course in the NBA. Mm-hmm. Both of you guys know that this ain't just par for the course for the NBA. This is par for the course in life. This type of thing happened in all industries, all areas, clergy, education, government. This kind of thing happens. Mm-hmm. And it's being two consenting adults.
Exactly.
And him not being married, even though, that's not, adultery is not criminal.
Fornication. Right.
Yeah, fornication is not criminal.
No.
But for this to go this route, and as much as you guys know, you've worked in organizations, been around different groups, and y'all know this person and that person is doing this, that, and the other. And who cares? It's two grown adults doing what they do, whatever. This was kind of harsh. But what I really don't like about this is that how Boston hedged its bets and said, you know what? We're going to take the assistant coach, have him run the same program with the same players. And if we have the same success at the end of the year, we're going to let him go. But if we have problems and it don't work, then we're going to bring him back to save us. I would say this: if the Boston Celtics went on a 5-6-game losing streak, it's a bunch of people in Boston who would say, you know what? We don't care about the coach's personal life. We want to win basketball games, and we want that 1-year suspension minimized and cut down because we want to win a championship, because that's how much people value winning. So to me, I didn't like how they just said, we're going to hedge our bets and we're going to keep you around. That lets me know that it's more to it than meets the eye, because for him to agree to that, you guys know, if they would have just fired him, Sacramento would have hired him tomorrow.
Yesterday.
Charlotte would have hired him an hour later.
Right.
Most people don't, they don't, whatever the rules are in Boston may not be the rules in Milwaukee, or it may be a different variation of the rules. But what is known is this man took a team that hadn't been to the NBA Finals in years to the NBA Finals the first time they let him behind the wheel. That's known. So to me, the way they held him, don't let him go do other things, and they want to see if the other guy can do just as well before they cut him loose. I just really don't like the insurance policy that they have in that. And I don't think that's totally fair. And I'm making that statement, not knowing the details of what he did.
Right. The other piece is this. They wouldn't have been able to do that if he was part of the Players Association, but because he doesn't have any union backing him or any backing other than, because there is no coaches,
union. No, it's not.
Coaches, there's none. So you're at the mercy of whatever the owners choose to do with you. So.
But Skip, let me interrupt you for a second, Vic.
Yeah, go ahead.
beg my pardon.
No, you're good.
The union have weighed in and are saying that they think this is severe, even though he's not in the union. Some of the players in the league has told the union that, hey, we want y'all to say something about this. So the union will be weighing in, and it should be something coming out. If it's not already, it should be coming out at least by tomorrow that speaks to that.
And that's cool. They can say all they want.
Yeah, they have no legal right. They don't have no legal right.
You don't represent him. So the owners are like, say what you want to say. So what? He works for me. He ain't a part of y'all union. He has no representation. So with him, we can hedge our bets and get away with it.
Yes.
You know, so.
And that's what they're doing.
That's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's keep it moving. Listen, Luke 18:17 in the app says it, or 8:17 says this. For there is nothing hidden that will not become evident, nor anything secret that will not be known and come out into the open. Mississippi welfare scandal spreads well beyond Brett Favre. Millions embarked for they're earmarked for the needy. The nation's poorest state went to projects that benefited the well-to-do. The state gave money or allocated money to a volleyball stadium that Brett Favre's alma mater. As he became further enmeshed in a scheme that diverted federal welfare money to build a volleyball stadium that cost more than $5 million at the University of Southern Mississippi. The former football star Brett Favre texted a question to the head of the nonprofit doling out funds meant to go to welfare recipients in the nation's poorest state. If you were to pay me, he wrote in 2017, a $1.1 million proposal for promotional efforts that would actually be funneled towards the building of a stadium. So here you have Brett Favre, a millionaire who's stealing money from poor people to fund a volleyball stadium. And the media is not going after him like they went after Colin Kaepernick, and they're not going after him like they went after Michael Vick. If you ask me, again, this is just personal, they should take his bust down from the Hall of Fame. They should take his yellow jacket back, because you did something that's just inhumane. You thought it was more important that folks starve, folks don't have their needs met for volleyball. I mean, how does somebody get away with that and nobody does anything about it? And so should that person that's doling out the money. He should be fired and possibly criminal charges be brought up against him. You know, from you guys having political insight, how does that work? That somebody can is that considered a misappropriation of funds? What is that considered to be? And what is normally the penalty for stuff like that, if there is one?
Well, first of all, we're talking state dollars and federal dollars. So there are stiff penalties and guidelines that come along with state dollars and federal dollars. Tim can co-sign for me on this. The city got block grant money from the federal government, which was given to the city of Milwaukee based on its poverty index.
Right. How
poor the city is. You know, infant mortality rate, unemployment. They got a certain amount of money that came to the city that was supposed to be earmarked for poverty type things. But the city was able to take that block grant money, and if they did some things that the city would have to pay for their own, like fix some streets or put up some street lights or shovel some snow in any place in the city that was considered poor, that was I want to say legal. That was
a verified use of those funds.
Thank you, Tim. That was verified use of the funds. So what did they do? They take money that was supposed to be earmarked for poverty type things, and they use it to balance out the city budget when those things are supposed to be paid for out of taxpayers' dollars, municipal people who pay their property tax and pay fees and pay for licensing. That's what that's supposed to be paid for. The city did it. They do it. They continue to do it because these are some of the loopholes that are involved with federal and state and government funding. And I'm sure this is a loophole they found in Mississippi. The biggest problem that I have with it is that, number one, Brett Favre, I don't even understand why you need to be getting more money. For what? You're supposed to be giving away money because you need tax write-offs because you're in the 44% tax bracket. So you should be giving away money instead of getting money, number one. The other thing is, like you spoke of, this money was earmarked for poor people. You thought that building a volleyball stadium at a state university that's state funded, a school that mostly well-to-do people go to, was a legitimate use of that fund. So rich people can play volleyball and sit down and eat and have good concession stands while they watch their kids play against other universities. I don't know what you're thinking. If you think that's something as a millionaire, as a Hall of Famer, a person with the career that you've had, the background, the family and all that, that you thought that was something that you would even entertain. Why? Is my question.
Exactly.
Why? Who told you that was something that you should be involved in? It's just amazing to me that these type of things happen. And Brett Favre is just the tip of the iceberg. He just got in trouble because he's famous. There's other people who've been doing this for decades.
Right. And he got caught because there was text messages proving that he did it. The question is, again, who told on them? Who told on them? Because somebody must have. How did you get the text messages? How did you get a hold of that stuff? Who turned around, unless Brett Favre said that's what he was going to use the money for and used it for something else, and then never even went to the college?
And you know, I forgot. I think Skip, you said this. They're not covering this like they cover a lot of other things.
No, like
not a lot of information.
Michael Vick and Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah, it's not a lot of that. Even in text. I mean, even on social media, there's not a lot of details about exactly what's going on here and what went on. It's my guess that in the end that he's going to be able to use his own personal funds to balance it out. I don't think he should go to jail. I really don't. I don't think he should go to jail. But I think he should make everybody whole. And he should, like you said, Skip, it should be some type of penalty to his fame and fortune because of it. But I don't think he should go to jail for that.
Well, I also think that there should be, I think not only should he pay the fine, should he pay the money, make them whole? I think he should pay a fine, and also the one who schemed with him to give him the money should pay a fine.
Oh yeah, both of them should get what they got coming, and you know, they all should, but they should make it whole. I mean, when I say whole, how much money was it? How much interest was it? How much money was lost with inflation? All of that number, they make them whole. That should be the number that they should be required to give back to the program that should be directed to the people who's supposed to receive it. But I don't think he should be in jail because of that.
T-Mac.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, I don't know that. I wish I knew more details about it. It hasn't come out. Well, a couple things. One, media has spin, you know, they try and sensationalize things. You know, the adage is if it bleeds, it leads. And so to Will's point, there was, you know, a blowing up of this, a propagandizing, if you will, of it because it involved a Hall of Fame former quarterback. I think the bigger thing, though, is that it shed light on some of the shenanigans or ways that good intentions can be kind of diluted in a way that even if it's not necessarily criminal, it would seem to be in poor taste. You know, Paul.
Oh my God, is it ever?
You know what I mean? Paul talks about in the Bible that all things are lawful unto me, but not everything is expedient, which means that just because I can do certain things, I should do all of them if they have, you know, a stench in some kind of way to my moral fabric, or it doesn't pass the smell test. So even if they could have, you know, quote unquote, legally finagled this under a technicality that allowed for this maneuvering of funds so that they would qualify for, welfare funds or some sort of new market tax credit or some sort of other type of thing, it still was in poor taste to take what started off as welfare or assistance funds to put them towards something that does not necessarily seem to lend itself to needing some assistance. You already have, universities that are paid for, and you also have an athletic department that, based on, the school and the conference and the revenues that are generated there, they usually take up for the rest of the lesser revenued sports in that particular program. So you couldn't have went to the athletic department, or even if you are a research university, you get endowments and different things like that. There weren't other pots of money that you could not have gone to instead of the poor people's fund to go ahead and get it. You're already in the poorest state. And you also like to make a mockery throughout years of portraying welfare recipients as a certain demographic, a certain color, a certain ethnicity, and you blast that through all political campaigns. You've made that a particular stereotype, and you had no problem yelling that from the top of rooftops. Now that is proven not to be the case here, and this might be indicative of something that goes on all the time, where is all of the bullhorns shedding the light on this? So it seems hypocritical. It seems fraudulent. It seems unethical, and
double standard.
It seems just downright despicable. And for it to get the short shrift on the media piece, Colin Kaepernick took a knee and he was ostracized from the entire league. Mike Vick was fighting dogs, animals. Bible says we have authority over animals and creeping things, and he went to jail for that. For you to give barely a headline to this, it speaks of some of the social fabric and just the moral decay that we've had in America. And it also seems to have a thread or a hint of, that double standard that Will talked about on the whole race piece. Things that are associated with people of color, they get blown out of proportion when something is potentially done wrong or there's some malfeasance. But when it's other folks that aren't people of color that are the central characters in those same types of events, they tend to have less of amplification, which is
swept under the rug.
Exactly. Right. And it's just it's foul. So for the fact that the media attention that it is getting, I'm thankful for that, the attention being called to it. Maybe there can be some subsequent things, regardless of what happens or does not happen to Brett Favre in this case and the other actors in this. Perhaps this can lead to some additional investigations. And as these types of things are done, maybe there can be some tightening of the rule books to close some of the loopholes. Because if you have, let's say, $10 million that's earmarked for a place, but the government, be it municipal, state, or federal, can siphon off, let's say, 4 million or 5 million or half of that bread for their own discretionary uses. Not only does that dilute the pot, but that gives less money total to throw at real problems that the people face. And that really is the genesis of why the money was given and made available in the first place. You can't always have the people continue to finish last. Think of some creative ways, if the government does need some more bread, not to take from that pot to get it.
Well, I would say this is a classic case, and it goes on all the time. Tim, you and I spent plenty of time in government. Yeah, and I'm talking about we was in government up to our neck. So we know how this stuff works. But you can't have the foxes over the hen house.
Right.
This is a cultural thing.
Right.
This is a cultural thing. Culture is what you will and won't allow within your group or within your organization. That's what culture is. What will and won't be tolerated. This is being tolerated because the culture has been tolerating this for decades, for years. It's just that now we've come to the point where the media can get information and capture things. You think about it like Skip, your dad, my dad, Tim, your dad. Back in the day when they left and went somewhere, they was just gone.
Right.
You couldn't call or find out a text, or you couldn't, they was just gone until they came back.
Right. Right.
Well, media has changed, and now we can't be gone like that. Right. Our kids can't be gone like that. Our wives can't be gone like that, because we have media and technology that allows us to track people wherever they are on this planet.
Right.
So because of that type of advancement in technology, these type of things are easier to detect, and they can't be hid and swept under the rug like they were, like they had been for decades in the past. So now you need some different authorities over this fund, because we need the whole ethics, morals, and culture to change.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I agree.
Amen.
And, you know, for me, you know, I always think about what kind of state Mississippi is. Mississippi is known for a state that had slavery. So to think less of a Black person, you know, and if you read in the Constitution, they were its. We were considered its. So if you're an it, then you're not humanized. So I don't care about what happens to it, because it is not important, you know? And so we're looking at, for me, the history of a state that supposedly has changed, but still has some residue of what they were still in modern day. And so, and that's why I'm looking at, if Vic can get a year for dogs, Colin Kaepernick can get banned for life for a knee, he should go to jail. Because that's only fair. Let's keep apples compared to apples and oranges compared to oranges. If they can do time for what they did or be banned for what they did, so should you. So should you, you know, but and it should be a message sent. Not only he goes to jail, but those who funded what he was doing, they should do some time too. I don't care if it's 6 months. You should be, and like you said, there should be some retribution for it. There should be some paying back of stuff, and there should be some time done for it. And so, you know, at this point, we'll see. You know, if it's been swept up under the rug for 7 years, they'll find a way to sweep it under the rug, and nothing happens to them. You know, that's probably what's going to happen.
I would be seriously surprised if that happened. I mean, I get the feeling and the opinion and all that, but I can just tell by the type of spin that's being put on this that they ain't going in that direction.
Well, you may be right, because, you know, if ESPN is talking about it, they're going to keep talking about it till something's done about it.
Yeah.
And it's the pro athletes that are talking about it. It's the athletes. And it's not just football. It's basketball's talking about it. It's baseball's talking about it. It's football. It's everybody talking about it. And everybody's saying, what are you going to do, Mississippi, about this? So Mississippi, it's the spotlight that's on Mississippi and not just Brett Favre. So listen, we didn't get to all the topics today, but another great show. Tune in next week for the #1 faith-based sports talk show in the entire world, Into His Court. Meet us right here every Tuesday from 7 to 7:30. We want to see you here. Also, check us out on YouTube and Facebook. Until next week, have an amazing week. Peace.